On the NHL side of things, I could not be more excited with a matchup than Oilers and Panthers. Now, in fairness, it would have been great to see Edmonton lose in the first round to the Kings because it would have meant a much more valuable pick to the Flyers. But once it was clear that Edmonton was going to get very far in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I didn't care at that point. It's like they can win or lose whenever. I don't think that this series is going to be particularly close. You could, in theory, try to convince me that the NHL could be sitting on a gold mine here and that this series could go 7 games and Connor McDavid etches himself into hockey lore and turns himself into a postseason legend, and Connor McDavid scores a hat trick in Game 7 to hoist the Stanley Cup, finally bring the Stanley Cup back to Canada. Rah, rah, rah. I don't see it. And in fact, I was talking to somebody else, Canadian, guy in Toronto earlier today, and he's devastated about the Leafs not getting to the Stanley Cup final. And he's like, I think that the best player is ultimately going to matter the most. And I said, I don't think it will. Because I think Florida just as a team is a significantly better team than Edmonton is. McDavid has the ability to go do unbelievable things that very few players, if any, can do on the planet. And yet, I think Skinner's played way over his head. And if you look at Skinner's starts, he's 6-4 in the postseason. And to me, there's a very easy case to be made here that Skinner is not going to be as good as he's been to this point. And then you're talking about Pickard, about him going in net. And I said, could we get to a point in the middle of the series where Skinner gets pulled because Edmonton's behind? And now you have the mid-series goalie swap. It's like the Pete DeBoer special, what he did to Ottinger. Could we see the same thing pop up? I don't know. I think that's more likely than not, though. If I had to put money on it right now, which I will not be doing, I would say that there's a good chance Florida gets this thing done in 5, maybe 6. But I don't see this going 7. I don't see Edmonton winning it. Now, I know people are going to disagree. We have Anthony here who says Panthers in 5. Jay Grebby says Oilers in 7. Joe Fisher says last year went to 7. It could happen again this year or be shorter. Well, those are the only that is true. AJ says Oilers in 6. This year's Oilers have way better depth scoring than any other season. They're also better at matching Florida's bullshit between the whistles. Steven says Thrashers in 7. Tony says Oilers are better than they were last year, especially defensively. They also have home ice. If Skinner doesn't absolutely suck, Edmonton has a shot for sure. That's where I think the thing falls apart, though. I just don't think Skinner's that good. And so, to that end, I think he's going to get exposed. And I think what you're going to see is Edmonton's going to have to win in high-scoring games. And their problem, obviously, is that Bobrovsky has been playing out of his mind. And if Bobrovsky is locked in, Edmonton, to me, has no shot. I'd say if I really had to put money, I'd say Panthers in 6. But I think Panthers in 5 is a legitimate potential outcome. I just don't see Edmonton walking away with this one. Now, if it gets to a Game 7, Skinner played a really good series the entire way through, maybe only has one bad game, and you get back to Edmonton with a Game 7, Skinner riding a nice little hot streak, and, Draisaitl and McDavid are doing what they do, then sure. We'll have the conversation on the show, and I'll be happy to be wrong. And I think for the game, it's probably a good thing if we end up seeing Connor McDavid win the Stanley Cup with Edmonton. It'd be nice of him to win it for them before he leaves them in the summer of 2026 and signs with the Philadelphia Flyers for $20 million a year. But go and win in Edmonton first, So that's the NHL side of things. The NBA side, to me, is a bloodbath. I know that sometimes we talk about the NBA playoffs here, but I think it's going to be a bloodbath. There is no path to me that Indiana does a good job in this series. I think Indiana is going to be a disaster. And I know that they're riding high after taking down the Knicks, and the Knicks were supposedly this darling team, and it was the Nova Knicks. And listen, Pascal Siakam is a winner. Tyrese Halliburton certainly appears to be a winner. And they have guys on that team that can show up, that are role players, that can actually do a good job from time to time. They can be clutch in certain moments. But there is nothing to prepare them for what they're about to run into in Oklahoma City. I wouldn't go sweep. But I think the Thunder in 5 is almost the easiest money you could make in the postseason in either league. If it goes beyond 5 games, I'd be shocked. If Indiana, let's just play this one out. If Indiana were to somehow win the NBA Finals, it would probably be the most unlikely run in a decade. I'm trying to think of the last time that we would have seen a team go through a postseason test like Indy had to. Like, remember, they started off, now Dame blew out his Achilles, which fundamentally changed the Bucks series. But they took down Milwaukee in 5 games. They took down a 64-win team, right, in Cleveland, the number 1 seed. They absolutely smoked Cleveland in 5 games. They took on a Knicks team that many were picking to go to the finals once they took down the Celtics themselves. That got to 6 games, but Indy blew out the Knicks in the final game, in Game 6. If they're able to somehow go out and just, I don't know, whether it's dominance or not, if they're able to go out and take down a 68-win team, Oklahoma City Thunder squad that has looked practically unbeatable in the postseason, it would be one of the most remarkable postseason runs of any team to win the finals. I'll actually be very interested. Like, if Indy can steal Game 1 or Game 2, then we have a series. I just don't see how it happens.